Morning, Kele.
Good morning, Lerato. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Emma. Welcome to Suero TV.
Thank you for having me.
Emma, so please just introduce yourself a bit so that the viewers can know who you are and what you do.
My name is Kelemosadi. I am the listings project and back office manager. My responsibilities include facilitating the listings project and overseeing just the compliance of the company's post-listing.
Okay.
So I act as the advisor for the companies to make sure they comply with the continuing obligations of the BSE. Okay.
So just to note that you do work for Motswedi Securities. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start off the interview. Basically, today we're going to be talking about listing your company on the BSE. The last time we talked about actually buying stock on the BSE when we were talking to Refilwe. I don't know if you guys remember. So today we are talking to Kele from Motswedi Securities. She's going to tell us on how can you list as a company on the BSE and the reasons why companies would list in the BSE, especially during this time. COVID, companies are not doing too well. So you might find that you might need a little bit of an injection of capital. So this listing will actually probably be of help to you. This is a conversation you might listen to if you're in the SME sector, you're a company owner, on how you can possibly list on the BSE and inject some capital into your company, right? Right, Kele?
Yes. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about my voice.
It's okay. it's winter season. We understand.
Yeah.
So now, all right. Sorry, I wanted to just ask to recap a bit on what the stock exchange is again, just to remind our viewers on what is the stock exchange.
The stock exchange is a platform where investors meet to buy and sell securities. Securities could be shares, bonds, or exchange traded funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's fine. So what is the process of now, as me as Suero Consulting, I want to list on the stock market. What is the process of one to become listed on the stock exchange? Not one, but as a company to list on the stock exchange.
The first step would be to assemble a team of advisors. These are sponsoring broker, the legal advisors, transfer secretaries, auditors, reporting accountants, and corporate advisors. These advisors must be registered with the Botswana Stock Exchange. And maybe just to highlight the role these play, sponsoring brokers, being us, act as the intermediary between the issuing company and the Botswana Stock Exchange. We do the submission of the listing application. And then the legal advisors mostly compile the actual documentation of the listing. And then the transfer secretaries will be managing the register of security holders. If it's a stock, they'll then be managing the details and putting together the details of the investors for submission to the stock exchange.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then obviously the auditors and the reporting accountants take care of the financial aspect of the company.
Okay.
And then after putting together the team of advisors, the actual listing application would start through a sponsoring broker, as I had mentioned earlier. There are 3 phases of submission, or rather approval by the BSE. The initial submission is mostly the draft of the documentation. And then it takes at most 5 working days for the BSE to respond to that initial submission. And then there's the second stage where now the company responds to the BSE or acts on the BSE comments of that initial submission. That phase also takes at most 5 working days.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final submission or the final approval takes 2 working days. The approval is now done by the BSE regulatory committee.
All right.
So you'd realize it can even take less than a month to do the actual list.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
list.
All right. So who gathers this advisors, this list of advisors, and for Suero to list, for instance, is it me as Suero? I have to get that legal person and find the broker as well, or I come to the broker first, and then the broker will help me gather this team.
It can happen 2 ways. You can contact the broker first, and then the broker may assist with assembling this team. But it can also be at the discretion of the company, because you'd realize these legal advisors, these transfer secretaries, obviously will have an agreement with you as the company in terms of the terms and expectations by you as the company and the team.
Okay. So what documents would I need to prepare? Let's say now, I'm struggling a bit, basically profit-wise, but I'm a very well-running company that just probably needs a bit of capital injection to list so that people can invest in it, the public can invest in it. Before I even get the advisors, what documents internally do I need to prepare for this process to start so that no delays happen?
Maybe let me start by highlighting the main requirements there before I can mention the documentation. The BSE looks at the corporate governance of the company, or should I say it needs the company to have a very good stand in terms of their governance.
Yeah.
And then also the financial history or the financial status of the company is also key, because the main goal of the BSE is to protect investors. And also they would like to know what the proceeds you get from the capital raise, what you'll be using them for.
Yeah. So
for every listing, there's a main document which is referred to as the information memorandum. So it entails all the information, your financial status, your directors, your usage of the proceeds post listing, and so basically that document which has the details of the company and what the company intends to do going forward, the directors, management, just the details of the company.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously you also have to submit the consents by these the advisors, just as proof that you have engaged those registered advisors and what will be their role.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
What about the documentation now? The documents that we need to have, possibly tax clearance. Do we need to be having those? Our audited financial statements. Besides the BSE checking our corporate governance in terms of how we operate, if we're actually in a properly existing company. What are some of the documents that we will probably need to prepare?
You'd realize, obviously, companies of different sizes bring securities to list. So it now depends on which category. Usually at the BSE, we refer those as boards. So for the main board, it's necessary to submit your financial or your profitability history for at least the past 3 years. So the financials are necessary to submit. Audited financial statements are necessary, and then the agreement between the company and the consents between the companies and the advisors. That information memorandum I mentioned earlier, and then also it is a requirement then to to have a certain number or the minimum number of shareholders before you come to list. But as for small companies, by and large, they list on the venture capital board or the TPD, you realize what a company is just a startup, doesn't have a financial record. So the financial history there is not necessary, but the financial focus will be a necessity there. Yes.
So startups can also register, can also list. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, there is the TPD board for startups, and then there is also the Serala over-the-counter board. The Serala is not the actual listing. It's like keeping a company there so they get familiar with the market before the actual listing, so that in that time the BSE will be monitoring the company prior to the actual listing.
So there are 2 boards. How many boards do you have?
4 boards. There is the main board for the bigger companies, and then there's the venture capital board. Venture capital is for average and smaller companies. And then there's the TPD for the startups, and then there's the Serala over-the-counter board.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't know about the boards.
You didn't know about such companies? Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the type of companies that can list, because now you've mentioned startups. The reason why I'm asking about the type of companies that can list is that I want a business owner sitting and listening to this, they should know they are not necessarily wasting their time to even trying to come to you and list. They just if you can just tell us, possibly summarize the type of companies that will probably be legible to list on the Botswana Stock Exchange. I mean, you mentioned corporate governance, so that means you need to be running like a proper company. So let's just also list other things. And you also mentioned the number of shareholders. I caught that as well, but there's a limited number of shareholders that need to be there for you to be able to list as well. Can we also just talk about that as well? What does a company need? What kind of companies can list on the Botswana Stock Exchange?
Types, maybe in terms of size, I would say all sizes. As I had mentioned earlier, we'll see that there are different categories for different companies of different sizes. So a company that hasn't even started doing anything at the moment can list, can come to the stock exchange to raise capital. And in terms of the sectors, or every sector, as long as the company is being properly operated and it's legal, can list on the Botswana Stock Exchange. Yes.
So basically, there's no discrimination. You don't need to be making some profit or have made some sort of track record. So tell me, so are startups not very risky for that? Wait, no, let me put it this way. Do investors not find startups risky to invest in? What is the track record of investing in startups?
So far. Well, obviously, investors don't have that much confidence in startups. Yes, but obviously, as I had mentioned, how necessary it is to put together the more information about the company prior to listing. That can also be helpful to the potential investors. So yes, I wouldn't say that most of them have been really successful, but I think it is also for us advisors then to act as the link between these potential issuers and the potential investors.
Yeah.
Because you realize that a startup is not successful at the moment due to that lack of capital capital injection.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because it has anything to do with the reputation, or it's just maybe they're struggling because of that capital injection.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about why would companies list on the Botswana Stock Exchange? basically, the reason why I want to discuss this is, I'm sitting here as an entrepreneur, twiddling my fingers and wondering, okay, why would I want to? What are my options besides capital injection? Why would companies list on the Botswana Stock Exchange? What are the reasons why we would encourage companies to list, for instance? Let's deliberate that so that we can really educate the viewers on the various reasons why you would decide to go list besides capital injection on growing your business.
Listed companies are regulated. There's that intense regulatory assessment prior to listing, and then they are expected to be compliant even during during listing. That alone can give investors the confidence to put money into that particular company. So which in return brings a wider exposure, and the company become attractive to investors. So there's that wider exposure when a company is listed. Yes.
Okay. So okay, sorry, let me let you finish.
No, it's fine.
Oh, you're done. Okay. Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, it forces the businesses to actually run really well to the T, everything really well, because I know there's also when you do list, there's also the annual general meeting that you need to be having with your investors, isn't it? So
Yes.
that you can probably present financials to them or how the business is doing. So it will actually be also good for you to make sure that you run everything to the T, because you have people to report to. You have shareholders who are sitting there and have put their money into your business to report to. So you make sure your corporate governance is on point. Everything is on point in terms of the way that you run your business financially.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one of the advantages of it. All right, so how secure is listing in the BSE?
You mean secure for the issuing company?
Yes, for the issuing company.
It is very secure. I mean, remember the BSE is also regulated by NB-FIRA. So being listed on the BSE means the BSE also does all it can to be compliant and to also ensure that the companies are compliant. So it is very secure.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. This is just to give the confidence to the companies that might want to consider listing as well. Yeah.
Maybe while we are still there, I should shift it to how it is also secure for investors to buy securities from listed companies. Yeah, it is very secure because I mentioned how the BSE takes seriously the securities of the investors. The BSE's key interest is to ensure that the investors are protected.
Yeah.
So prior to listings, the company goes through that assessment by the BSE, and then after listings, the BSE also makes sure that the company is compliant to their listings requirements. It encourages companies to be transparent. The company is expected to report on any matter that may affect the stock price. And they need to report immediately as they know, they are aware of any information that can have the effect on the stock price. So the BSE would expect companies not to always keep the investors informed.
Yeah. Okay. What would affect the stock price of the business? Let's get to the detail of that, so that as I'm preparing to come and list, and I know that I have the responsibility of, in case the stock price of the business gets affected when investors have actually invested into my business, what are things that would affect the stock price of the business?
Okay. The ultimate factor is the demand and supply of that particular stock. you'd realize investors do react to news about the company. So if there are negative news about the company, investors are likely to react to that. Yeah. So the company reputation is very key when you are listed, or also the general management of the company.
Yeah,
is very important. Also the financial, because you realize, what I've realized is well, investors pay attention to things as the financial results of the company. So they realize that maybe the performance is not good. Some investors may want to lose that stock. So things like the financial position, the news about the company do affect the price. Okay. Change in management or the operations of the company also can affect how the market reacts to the share price.
As well as, for example, if there's a recession like this as well, investors just become nervous and then they withdraw their investments. So therefore that can also affect the stock price, yeah?
Yes, true.
Okay, all right. So sometimes it's actually things that are not necessarily deliberate on the company side. They're actually way beyond the company, where there are no customers, there's a lockdown, no one is buying, and therefore what happens is sales go down, therefore profits go down, and investors get nervous, and then they withdraw they try to sell their shares or withdraw their shares. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about now the payments of dividends. Let's say we've invested in Suero, people have invested in Suero, 5 years has gone down, I haven't paid any dividends to the investors, 10 years passes, I'm just quiet, every year I'm reporting, we're doing well, we're just going to reinvest into the business. Is it at the discretion is it at Suero's discretion? This is payments of dividends to investors, or the BSE also, or the stockbrokers also actually intervene when they realize that the company is taking rather too long to give back to the investors what they have invested in? Yeah, is there a place where the investors can complain if they're worried about some sort of now we feel like we've been sitting here 15 years now? Is there anywhere they can possibly be helped and encourage the company to pay dividends, or is that the discretion of that company?
Well, dividend declarations are at the discretion of the company, or rather the board. But when there's no payment or when there's no declarations, a company has to state a reason why there isn't that payment. Yes, because a company making profit doesn't necessarily mean it's a guarantee for it to pay dividends. Some companies will choose to invest, to reinvest the dividends, so that in the future investors may enjoy even more richer dividends.
Yeah.
So obviously, when there hasn't been a payment during these financials presentations, you'd
Emma, please repeat that part again. I think you paused a bit there. Our internet as usual has interrupted.
Okay.
Emma.
Yeah, I was saying declarations are at the discretion of the board. And when a company makes profit, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a guarantee for the company to pay dividends. Some companies may make a decision to reinvest those dividends, so that in the future investors can even enjoy more from those more dividends.
Yeah.
But it is stated in the financials or during financial presentations why there is no dividend declarations.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So even when 20 years passes by and we start, we're still getting, yeah, no, we're reinvesting back into the business. So it's like you're saying, it's at the discretion of the board. The investors who have invested also do not have a say on when the business can say, okay, guys, no, I think you are reinvesting back into you've been reinvesting back to the business for the past 20 years. I think it's time for us to enjoy. They have no say in that as well, do they? No?
No, they have a say, because remember, when you are a shareholder, you actually have a say. Yes, because obviously during these annual general meetings or these special meetings, when a presentation is made, remember you also have a say on that, whether it's through voting or yes.
They
the investors do say.
Yeah, so the company can be answerable to whatever concerns the investors may have.
Because it is also my belief that the company would give the actual information if they say no, we are not paying dividends because of 1, 2. We would like to believe that will be the actual true reflection of what is happening.
Yes, I mean that's why we have auditors, isn't it? If investors are nervous, this is why we have auditors to represent the external parties in terms of reporting.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so what are the risks involved normally in listing? Let's say I'm listing. What are the risks? You know how there are risks for investors generally, because if you actually invest in a company, you are taking a risk that company might not do well and you might lose your capital altogether, or you might not even get any returns. What are the risks of a company listing on the Botswana Stock Exchange? Do you have any risks if you want to go and list?
I don't know if I should label them as risks or disadvantages that can come with it.
Yes, disadvantages that can come with it.
Okay. You realize that not all companies get attractive to investors. Some companies do list, but then there wouldn't be any activity post-listing. So the company may become illiquid, or may become, investors may not be really interested in it. Remember, the listing, there are fees attached to listing. So if it doesn't work to the company as they had expected, you realize they would continue to pay those fees without really enjoying the benefits of the listing.
So it does happen that investors might not be interested in you, even though you have listed.
It happens.
Yeah.
It does happen for various reasons.
Yeah, for various reasons. Let's talk about the fees of listing. What are the fees involved that a company should expect, and how often do they need to be paying them?
Okay, when the company lists, there is the actual listing fees. So it depends on what board you are listing and how many shares you are bringing to the list. So it's usually a percentage of that, of the turnover. And then there's the fees for the documentations, for the BSE to be reviewing those documents for listing. And obviously the fees you pay to these advisors, the service fees payable to the advisors.
Okay, you mentioned the number of shares. The fees are dependent on the turnover and the number of shares that you are selling. Let's break that down. For example, if I want to sell 10% of my shares, I want to list 10% of my shares for investors to invest in, as opposed to listing 20% of my shares. How does that affect the fee? Or is it a percentage of what? Please explain that.
You know, when you list, there's a minimum number you should list, and also there's a minimum price that the share list with. For example, you'd say I'm listing 1 million shares and at 1 pula. That is 1 million pula. So the certain percentage of that is then payable to the stock exchange for that listing.
I get you. Okay. All right. So does it
and
happen?
then,
Oh, sorry. Let me let you finish.
And also, even after listing, then you will be paying the annual sustaining fees post-listing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What would does it happen that companies delist from the stock
Yes.
exchange? Yeah. What would be the reasons for a company to delist?
Okay. It can happen in two ways. The companies can delist at its own discretion, or this could be the termination could be coming from as an instruction from the BSE. Usually when it's from the BSE, it's because of non-compliant by the listed company. But when the company chooses to list, most of the times the company maybe would have met the desired capital they wanted to raise, or due to the reasons we mentioned earlier, or the disadvantages we mentioned earlier, that maybe the company is no longer benefiting from that list.
Listing, yeah. So then they will choose to opt out.
Yes.
Okay. Instead of just continuously paying fees when listed on the and you're not performing well.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think we've come to an end of our interview actually. So the main reason was basically to try and actually encourage companies, especially during this time, because I know this time is quite a difficult time for some businesses. Some businesses are booming, they're doing well. So, such as a company that we're using now for us to communicate, I know they're doing really well. It's a good time for them right now because people are working from home, so this is the best way to probably have meetings as well. So this is for possibly companies that will need a bit of capital raising. You don't necessarily only need to go get a loan from a bank or get a loan from CEDA or wherever to grow your business. You can also come and list in the Botswana Stock Exchange through the brokers. Motswedi Securities is one of the brokers that you can actually use to go list and find out how you can do it. I believe we've covered most of the information on how you can, as a company, go and list, approach them and see how you can go list and see how you can grow your business and the risks involved in it as well as what you expect it to do. Yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Kele, for the companies out there that are actually thinking about investing not investing, thinking about listing, and they've been a bit nervous or they didn't know. Do you have a last message for them just to, let's encourage doing this kind of stuff, listing into the stock exchange and have the public to invest so you can grow your business?
No, I'll just think, I'm sorry about my voice. I'll just encourage them to contact us for more information, because what I've noticed is most of the we have potential issuers out there who are not even aware, as even the smallest company can bring its shares to the market.
Yeah.
Because they are there thinking it's for bigger, profitable companies.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage them to keep in touch, to contact us, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, and I must thank you, Lerato, for arranging these informative sessions, because as I had mentioned, we have potential investors there, potential issuers somewhere who are clueless about the stock market.
Yeah.
So as participants, we need to do more of this, even if it means explaining it is as basic as it gets.
Yeah.
We still have a lot to do to fill that gap of illiteracy.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Emma. Thank you so much, Kele. You are so appreciated for doing this interview on Suero TV.
Thank you, Lerato, for inviting me.
Emma, okay, thanks.